What are they going to be doing? Are they going to be freaking sanitizing the entire plane before they take off again? Because that whole place now is ground zero for Rona floating around in the air. Are they going to open up all the windows? You know what I'm saying? Are they going to air this ish out? You know what I'm saying? I ain't going back into a Rona plane. Pascal. This is a very sad story, and it's terrifying in my personal opinion. There has been a story that's been circulating throughout the internets over the weekend. A passenger on a LA-bound flight dies after an emergency landing. And they say that he had COVID symptoms before he got on that plane. We got to jump into this video. Check it out.
A COVID scare at LAX. A passenger who suffered a medical emergency aboard a United Airlines flight and later died had COVID-19 symptoms. KCAL 9's Candace Crone tells us tonight why some on the plane are not happy with how it was all handled.
Chaos kind of ensued. They got him on the floor and he wasn't conscious.
Megan Hubbard and her fiance shared these pictures of the tense moments on a United Airlines flight as a man fell ill. Medics on board jumped in to help flight attendants tend to the sick passenger. The couple said they got even more worried when they heard the man's wife make comments about his health.
She had stated to everyone that was around us, we all heard, she said that he was
he tested positive
for COVID last week, and that he had symptoms like he had trouble breathing, loss of taste and loss of smell.
He was like sweaty, he was a little shaky.
He was like having a hard time breathing.
He
didn't look good at all.
The plane was headed from Orlando to LAX Monday night, but made an emergency landing in New Orleans. The flight continued on the same plane to Los Angeles. Here's video of what's believed to be that aircraft landing at LAX. United Airlines initially said they were informed the man suffered a heart attack and that passengers were given the option to take a later flight or continue on. The couple says that wasn't the case.
As soon as they announced that, well, we're just going to keep going, everybody, you can see everybody kind of looking at each other like, okay, yes, so, there was had a look of kind of concern.
In a statement, United Airlines said, "We are sharing requested information with the CDC so they can work with local health officials to conduct outreach to any customer the CDC believes may be at risk for possible exposure or infection." The couple says no one from the CDC has reached out to them. While saddened by the passenger's loss, they hope this reminds people to be extra cautious during a pandemic.
It's pretty not responsible to knowingly possibly spread it like that.
Passengers are required to fill out a form acknowledging that they have not tested positive for COVID-19 within the last 14 days. However, they're not required to show proof. Reporting at LAX, Candace Crone, KCAL 9 News.
Wow. All I can say is, wow. I'm sorry. I'm trying to find what the CDC, the statement from the CDC real quick. I want to play that one more time because I find this very fascinating and very interesting. So let's listen to this one more time.
We had a look of kind of concern.
In a statement, United Airlines said, "We are sharing requested information with the CDC so they can work with local health officials to conduct outreach to any customer the CDC believes may be at risk for possible exposure or infection." The couple says no one from the CDC has reached out to them.
Interesting. So United Airlines sits there and says, "Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we contacted the CDC so that they can contact all the people that were on this flight in a flying petri dish, by the way, to make sure that they know about about this particular gentleman that just died on this plane and that he had the Rona, and we need to make sure that they so that we can make sure that they go and get the tests to make sure that they don't have the Rona either." Crazy, right? Hold on, I gotta play just a little piece more. The last part just blows my mind. Here we go.
While saddened by the passenger's loss, they hope this reminds people to be extra cautious during a pandemic.
No kidding.
It's pretty not responsible to knowingly possibly spread it like that.
Passengers are required to fill out a form acknowledging that they have not tested positive for COVID-19 within the last 14 days. However, they're not required to show proof.
There it is. Not required to show proof. Now, I get that. I get that part. I get that. I mean, and it's how easy is it for you to just click the I agree, tab it, the little checkbox. How easy is it for you to click on that with the quickness when you go, hey, I need to get to Miami, or hey, I need to get to this business trip. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, of course. I didn't test negative, or I tested negative. I already took a test. Yeah. 7 months ago. You know what I'm saying? Click. I'm fine. I'm totally fine. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm totally fine. I don't have the Rona because I don't have a runny nose. I can still taste and smell. I can do all these things. No problem, y'all. Cool. Check the box, right? You get on the plane, you could lie through your teeth, right? You get on the plane, and all of a sudden, you got somebody who dies on the plane and had tested positive for the Rona before getting on the freaking plane. That is ridiculous, y'all. That is absolutely ridiculous. Can you imagine being there? I've been on planes where people have had heart attacks, gone into cardiac arrest on the plane. It is absolutely terrifying because you're 35,000 feet in the air and you have somebody who is literally dying on the plane with you. But then imagine having that stress, then find out that the guy had COVID symptoms before he got on the plane. And now you're stuck in this plane with a man who's dying and is also contagious with a virus. All that recycled air flowing back and forth, just going throughout. Then when they land and they take the man out, and then, of course, unfortunately, he later on dies. They go, hey, you're more than welcome to continue your flight. We're going to continue. You can fly on this same flight, or we can reschedule you somewhere else. Are you continuing on that flight, or what are they going to be doing? Are they going to be freaking sanitizing the entire plane before they take off again? Because that whole place now is ground zero for Rona, floating around in the air. Are they going to open up all the windows? You know what I'm saying? Are they going to air this ish out? You know what I'm saying? I ain't going back into a Rona plane. Are you going to spray it down with that sanitizer thing that they have? They look like freaking Ghostbusters with this freaking sanitizer gun, and it's all on their back. You know what I mean? Like, are you going to do that before I get back on the plane, or no? Whilst windows and doors are open? What you going to do? You let this man come onto this plane. I see a lot of lawsuits coming. If people get sick, if people end up getting sick from being on that plane, bruh, United Airlines is about to get destroyed with lawsuits. Real talk. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Go ahead. All
right. Yeah, I agree that this is really bad for United Airlines.
Bad.
But we haven't. The thing is, I want to see if he actually died of COVID, because he hadn't had a test, and the cause of death is listed as heart attack. So I would like to see an autopsy so they can verify if he even had COVID. That would make a big difference.
No, but they said that he tested positive for the Rona before he got on that plane.
No, they hadn't had tests yet.
Yeah, he was never tested.
He showed symptoms of it. They were going home and they had a test planned in LA.
Okay. My bad. I could have sworn they said that in the video.
The airline had said the man's wife was overheard telling an emergency medical technician that he had shown symptoms of the disease, including loss of taste and smell, and that that she was just trying to get him home, and that they had scheduled to get tested when they get back in LA.
Gotcha. Sorry about that. I've been corrected. Continue. I'm sorry. You were saying, David.
So yeah, I mostly just want to know if he did die of COVID or not, which I think only an autopsy would be able to tell us at this point. But on top of that, if it was COVID, I mean, their testing doesn't seem to be very strong. I guess if he had symptoms, he should have had a fever. So maybe, I guess they weren't testing for fevers when you come in. I'm not really sure, but either way, for now, that's really the best you can do, is trust the individual on whether they have or had not taken the vaccine, or if they've had the symptoms or not. So in a way, there's not much the airlines could have done about it, even if they could have had better screening standards. I mean, but with the screening standards they have, it was they didn't have a good way to stop this if he did have it, and if he did, that means it's most likely everyone on the plane has been at least partially exposed, maybe enough to even get sick from it.
Right.
And it's proper that the airlines notify the CDC, because that's what everyone's supposed to do. If they don't get an official test from a doctor, you're supposed to call the CDC and tell them that you may have had it, so that they can properly track it and its spread. So
real
it sounds
quick.
like.
Go ahead. It sounds like what? I'm sorry.
Well, it sounds like they intended to do the right thing and getting him a test, and then.
Okay. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm going to play this little clip here really quick. I want us all to hear it. I could have sworn, I'm sorry, because this could change your opinion here real quick. I could have sworn they said that he tested positive before he got on the plane. I heard it with my own 2 ears. I'm going to play it one more time because that could change your opinion really quick. I'm sorry. Just 2 seconds. Hold your thought. All right? We're only going to listen to it.
LAX, a passenger who suffered a medical emergency aboard a United Airlines flight and later died, had COVID-19 symptoms. KCAL9's Candace Crone tells us tonight why some on the plane are not happy with how it was all handled.
Chaos kind of ensued. They got him on the floor and he wasn't conscious.
Megan Hubbard and her fiance shared these pictures of the tense moments on a United Airlines flight as a man fell ill. Medics on board jumped in to help flight attendants tend to the sick passenger. The couple said they got even more worried when they heard the man's wife make comments about his health.
She had stated to everyone that was around us, we all heard, she said that he was
he tested positive for COVID.
You hear that?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that's heard. I'm not crazy.
Last week, and that he had symptoms like he had trouble breathing.
He tested positive last week.
He had trouble breathing.
He tested positive for
COVID last week, and that he had symptoms like he had trouble breathing.
I just want to make sure that's abundantly clear. So, he did test positive. He took a test. Wifey said, yes, he tested positive for COVID. He had symptoms. He got on the plane. He had a heart attack. He died. I want to make sure that's clear. Sorry, man. I didn't mean to interrupt your thoughts, but that could change your opinion. Thank you. All right.
Yes.
Continue, guys.
He should have waited another week for the quarantine to be up. There's really nothing else to say other than that at this point. I mean, he probably didn't mean to do. Obviously, he didn't mean to kill himself.
Of course.
But it's just negligence that led to that. It's possible if he wasn't on the airplane, he might not have had a heart attack, just because flights can be a little hard in older bodies, even pressurized flights that you get on a normal airline, like non-military planes even. It is a little rough on your body because of the pressure changes. So yeah, he just made a really bad decision. He should have done the full quarantine. A lot of the things about COVID, rules I have a problem with, as you might know, but the 14-day quarantine is just, to me, it's an obvious one that you should abide by. If you know you're sick, you shouldn't. And this is something I've talked about before, but if you're sick, you shouldn't really go to work because you are going to expose people to that. And not everyone can necessarily choose that if they don't have enough money to feed themselves and their job is still telling them to come in. But people need to take it more seriously. You can argue the details because there is science that doesn't necessarily agree with everything, say, the FDA says, but there's certain things that are unquestionable, like its contagious period is roughly 2 weeks. Viruses always will spread if you're still able to if you're still contagious. So basically, his health was already incredibly vulnerable, and he put himself in a position where not only was he threatening his own life, but there's the potential, even with a mask, that he's spreading it. Masks can work; they can stop it from spreading. But at the same time, it depends on a lot of factors. If you're sitting in an airplane for a long time and you have COVID and it's developed, it's not going to stay in your mask. They do have jet streams that escape around your nose. The circulated air is the best thing because it won't let it linger there, so that reduces your chance of exposure, but it's still there. So, he's still exposing people, even with his mask on and even with the circulation. the passengers have a better chance of not catching it, especially if the humidity is maintained in the airplane. But he's still putting them at risk as well. He should have. I'm guessing that's why they didn't call the CDC yet. They should have done it before, because then the CDC would have marked them and put them on a 2-day quarantine or 2-week quarantine from the time of diagnoses. So yeah, he made a bad decision and he paid for it, and he put other people's lives at a little bit of risk there, because even with all those safety precautions, there's no guarantee you won't get COVID from that other person, because the safety precautions are generally the minimum, and they're not going to guarantee you're not infected. Just like, you need to do all of the steps to give yourself a good chance of not being affected. You need to maintain distance. You need to keep on a clean mask. You need to not touch your face. You need to wash your hands or wear gloves. Be wary of contact surfaces and things like that. So, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Let me add a couple of things in here. I saw, so the passenger, Tony Adapa, he was on the flight and used his EMT training to try to save the man. He said there's 3 of us that were essentially tag teaming doing chest compressions, probably about 45 minutes. And Mr. Adapa said the man's wife told him her husband was displaying coronavirus symptoms and was planning on getting tested. She told me he had symptoms, he was short of breath, and she just wanted to get him home, and they plan on getting tested this week. And he said, I made the decision to attempt to save the passenger's life, and along with 2 others performed CPR for close to an hour until we landed. He said, I knew the risks involved in performing CPR on someone that potentially has COVID, but I made the choice to do so anyways. I spoke with the passenger's wife about his medical history, and she never mentioned he was positive. She said he was scheduled to have a test done in LA. I spent the remainder of the flight covered in my own sweat and in that man's urine. I've since become symptomatic myself and I'm awaiting the results of my second test.
Test.
That's like...
Okay. So it's interesting because you're hearing, obviously we hear from bystanders, right? And then, of course, we're hearing from a medic, that was there in the fray. And avoiding, as he said, he basically threw everything out the window to try to save this man's life and put himself at risk. Huge. Like literally put him in the line of fire. He put himself in the line of fire just to keep this man alive. Unfortunately, the man did not survive, and now he's having symptoms himself because he was obviously covered head to toe, and he internally obviously consumed this man's breath. You see what I'm saying? So he put, obviously mouth to mouth resuscitation, etc., to try to keep this man alive. And the fact that happened is terrible. You know what I'm saying? That's terrible. But at the same time, when you have somebody, whether he was tested positive before he got on the plane or not, because obviously now it's turning into hearsay, right? Also, I'm going to point this out too. I'm going to say this too, because it is a very good question. If you have an EMT or if you have a medic standing over your dying husband, your husband's having a heart attack, you don't know what to do. The medic comes over and is asking all the questions, going, hey, does he have any COVID symptoms? Or did he test positive for COVID? Blah, blah, blah. What are you going to do? If you know that this man's life is in this other man's hands and you don't know anything about CPR, you're not a medic. You're not in the healthcare industry. And this man could possibly save the love of your life's life. What are you going to say? You're going to say whatever by any means necessary to keep your man's alive. Correct? So, of course, you're going to sit there and say out loud, maybe other people will sit there and hear that maybe she said, yes, he tested positive before we got on this plane, but we were trying to get him home so he can, get him back to this other place so he can be safe in whatever. We're taking him to a place so he can go and get well. Then all of a sudden a medic comes up and goes, hey, so what's going on here? Blah, blah, blah. He has been having symptoms, but he hasn't, he's supposed to be getting a test later. What do you think she's going to say whatever she needs to say to keep him alive. I think that we would all do that, to be really honest. You know what I'm saying? In a way, I feel like we would think in the spur of the moment, a little white lie. It's a really bad lie. Because now you're putting this other person in in harm's way. But if you really think about it, what are you going to do when that option is plopped on your lap? Have this medic not touch my husband because he tested positive for COVID and he doesn't have the proper PPEs to do what he needs to do to take care of my husband, and then he'll die on this plane? Or do I lie, say what I need to say so that my husband can fight and live and speak another day?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Right, guys?
There's this other lady, Megan Hubbard, that was on the plane, and she sent out tweets saying, at United, can I ask how you guys let a COVID positive man on my flight last night? He was shaking and sweating boarding the plane. He was clearly sick and then died mid-flight. We had an emergency landing in New Orleans, and we didn't even switch planes afterwards.
Word.
We all sat there for hours waiting while you guys cleaned up his blood and germs with wet wipes. Is this how you handle other people's safety and health? Like you said, there's going to be some lawsuits.
There's going to be hella lawsuits. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, they didn't even bother to go and sanitize. Like I said, they didn't sanitize. They didn't open no windows. They didn't air the plane out. No, nothing. You know, like how they usually say, yeah, we sanitize the plane. We sanitize it. We get the guns that look like Ghostbusters. And we everything. We blast the hell out of it between flights. You didn't even do that, and then you found out, and you already knew that this dude already had COVID symptoms. You should be doing everything you can to make sure that people are not going to be sick, that your plane is not a flying petri dish. United Airlines, you're about to get sued bad. You're about to get sued, y'all. I feel sorry for you guys, but you have standard procedures that you implement every time. You put in commercials. You put in your little promos and stuff. We sanitize our planes. Come fly with United. Come on, y'all. A man just died on your plane with symptoms, whether or not he was tested positive with COVID or not. The dude had symptoms, and you still didn't even sanitize the damn plane? Bruh. Or at least switch planes? Take that whole of the pilots, everybody, switch them over to another plane so that you can properly and thoroughly sanitize that plane? You guys need to start thinking more. Well, you're going to think more now because you're going to get a multi-million-dollar lawsuit laid on your desk real quick. And it's going to be multiple people suing you guys. God knows how many people were on that damn plane. But here it is, real talk though. My heart and thoughts go to the wife and the family that lost this gentleman. That's still terrible news, but at the same time, they shouldn't have gone on that plane. They shouldn't have. If he was already having symptoms, whether he tested positive before he got on the plane or if he was planning on getting a test, but when he landed there, which I think is a lie. I think he really did test positive already before he got on the plane. But they should have either just driven back home or something, found another way to get back to LA than doing what they did. Because now there are other people that probably contracted the virus. Most definitely that medic that was saving his life most definitely got it now. And that's a damn shame.
Pascal, you are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild.